Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had a few technical difficulties, but welcome to the July 22nd regular council meeting for the Village of Lytton. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to please turn off your videos, mute your microphones, and allow council to begin the proceedings. Just to let you know, we're all being recorded and broadcasted on the Village YouTube channel. If anyone is looking for a video recording of this evening meeting or past meetings, you can go to the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 7:06. I want to begin by recognizing that the Village of Lytton is located on the unceded ancestral traditional territory of the Inupiaq people. Tonight, we have 4 council members at the table. Councillor Michelle sends her regrets, and we're also joined at the table here in the hall by Carolyn Lamont, our Director of Development, and Lisa Storoshenko, our Corporate Officer. So we've had a chance to look at the agenda. So can I please have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved, Lightfoot.
Thank you. And a seconder? Toss. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Now we need the adoption of the minutes from the regular council meeting of July the 8th.
So moved, Toss.
Thank you. And a seconder?
A second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Were there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? And carried. On to the minutes of the special council meeting. We had one item on that agenda of July 14th. Who would like to move?
So moved, Lightfoot.
Thank you. Seconder McCann. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storoshenko regarding the public comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. So members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that at the bottom under React, and then click raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name. You'll be asked to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to please state and spell your name, say your address, and the agenda item that you are speaking to. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. All right, I'll call for a second time. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. And I'll call for a third time. If anyone wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function now. And we have no one here at Parish Hall, so over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item number 7, and we do have a number of staff reports tonight. So we'll start with CIO Member Katz regarding contract award.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everyone. This first item on the agenda is to request approval to add an additional element to the contract award for RCS Construction. So you may remember back a number of months ago, we signed a contract with RCS Construction for the services of Brendan Nobes as our construction advisor for the community hub and the fire hall and also the public works building and the village office. This contract it's a little bit of a strange one to kind of deal with this way because it's a company called SEMA Canada. So they're a building engineering firm who do a lot of energy modeling and design methods to measure various indicators of really net zero achievement in a building, and we have to perform some of these tasks as part of our requirements under the contribution agreement. So we need a building engineering company to do this work for us. We're recommending that the company report to Brendan. He manages them as part of his role as the construction advisor. And we will be working kind of hand in hand with the architects in terms of particularly the mechanical design of the building, but other elements as well. This proposal is for a contract award of $64,500. That's an upset price because we're still working with the architects exactly who's going to do which components of it. And you'll notice in the report I listed a number of the activities that this consultant will undertake. It's possible that we will move some of those over to the architect and have this consultant, mainly focused on reporting. So those are my comments, unless somebody has any particular questions.
Well, let's put the motion, recommended motion forward.
So move Lightfoot.
Councillor Lightfoot, seconder.
I'll say.
Councillor McCann, thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding this? Councillor Toss.
Yeah, I'm speaking strongly against this motion for several reasons. And I don't believe it to be incredibly time sensitive. So it's not to say that I wouldn't necessarily support it in a following meeting, but for a few reasons. One, I don't fully understand what they're assessing. I don't feel it's time sensitive. I think that the RFP for the contractor and the architect should have that skill set, or perhaps we shouldn't hire them, and it could go into the RFP for the contract. We've also received community comment against this additional scope, and I'm also very concerned about the almost $100,000 of recovery staff funding that is being spent on the monthly almost without bodies in the town. So that, and yeah, so for those reasons, I'm going to be speaking against it, but I'm open to figuring out why this would be a good idea in the future.
Right, are there any other questions or comments?
I'd appreciate a little more explanation, because I'm not really understanding, like, who exactly CI, what are they? CI something.
CIMA.
What exactly, so they are some kind of a contractor that has skills that our contractor doesn't have and that the architect doesn't have either. So I'm just trying to figure out how did we all end up here?
Mhm.
How did we end up with this, and now we know something about it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that our architect couldn't contract these services themselves. They could. The architect could go out and have a contract with these people as well. The architects themselves don't do energy modeling or the description. It's actually quite specific. Um, Let me just see if I can. No, I'm not laying my hands. Oh, construct the building obtain a zero carbon building design certification from the Canadian Green Building Council. Construct the building according to the zero carbon building design standard V4. And then it goes into a bunch of other things about the indicators. So the indicators that we need to measure um, could include a zero carbon balance. It could include the level of embodied carbon performance. It could include the total refrigerants. So those are all the types of things that this building engineer is an expert in. The architects aren't. The architects could hire a building engineer as well. They could do it as well.
Mhm.
Or we could do it ourselves. So the recommendation is that we hire this firm to do this. There's all different ways you can do it.
All right, so how is it an advantage for us to do this and not have the architect do it?
I would suggest for the reporting piece of it in particular, the architects will not have anything to do with that. When it comes to the actual design to meet the targets,
Yeah.
either this person working with us or working with them will work very closely with them, right? So you could parcel off that piece and ask them to go hire a building engineer to do that part with them. That's definitely an option.
I'm just wondering why the staff is recommending that we follow this option. How is this the best option for Lytton right now?
Because well, for one thing, I think all of the consultants that get hired by the architects then end up with a markup on top of them as they flow through. I think that if we have working with this firm more directly, then I think, we'll be able to set these indicators and meet these reporting requirements of the GICB agreement. That's not to say that we couldn't work through the architects to do it. It's just going to be another step.
Okay.
So because although Brendan is RCS Construction, he's hired as kind of one of our team He's,
Yeah.
he's one of our team. And so I look at it as him working directly with them on the reporting versus working with the architects who are working with the people on the reporting.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Lightfoot.
Did you say this would be for the hub and the village office?
This is just for the hub because it's a GICB requirement.
Okay, and so would they do the testing after the construction is completed? Would they be the ones that go in and do the testing for the airflow or whatever?
Or they would work with the mechanical engineers on that for sure. They would be doing all of that because they need to prepare the reports to submit to GICB that we've met the targets.
Because I had a friend that got a net zero or a heat pump grant a number of years ago. Their comment was by the time they had someone come in and do the testing, that it really wasn't much of a benefit. So I know that type of testing can be expensive, and that would be included in this code. Is that correct?
Yes, and I believe that, we have to complete all of this testing as part of our certification with the Canadian Green Building Council. So it will all need to be done in terms, right at the end of the project for the final reporting and the final certification. The GICB program, that this contribution agreement will remain open until we finish all of those reporting requirements.
Councillor Toss.
Yeah, so my understanding is quite often contractors who do that pressure testing at the end as part of the occupancy and the final inspections. I don't know if it's different for commercial or municipal buildings, but I would hope that within the RFP, we could have our contractors fulfill that. Like, I don't see a need for this role with the other so-called experts, and certainly our contractors, if they do not have experience with these elements, I don't think we're gonna be able to.
I'm sure that they do, Councillor Toss. I guess I would say who's going to pull it all together? Who's going to pull it all together in the format that these organizations require, and that's what this company brings to the table. They have experience doing this. They've reported on many projects before. They know what GICB is looking for, just that type of thing. So I'm 100% confident that all of the consultants on the project could do this work, but it's just a matter of like who's going to bring it all together and report it to the bodies, because I certainly don't have the technical capability to do that. It's not my expertise.
Contractors do.
Yeah, my comment would be that my expertise is only with building my house. I don't know anything else. I have to trust that our staff are making the right decision here. But this money, the 64,000, I think, is covered through the GICB funding. Is that correct? Yes,
it's
it's all part of the program. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. Are there any other questions or comments?
Only that I hope that our contractors will have this skill set.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? And that is, opposed? And yeah. So we'll move on now to key performance indicators. Back to CA.
Thank you very much, Mayor O'Connor. This is our first reporting this year on the no, I think we did a March 31st reporting. Sorry, this is the second reporting of the key performance indicators. So these are the targets that are established in our annual plan, and reporting on how we are doing against those targets as of June 30th. So we have a number of different, kind of sections that we put them in. The first one being rebuilding. And, on the remediation and backfilling, we had a target to complete all the activities by September the 30th, and we're on track to do that. We have a target to have 30 homes occupied in the village by the end of the year. We currently have 11. We had a target of 5 commercial buildings either completed or under construction, and we have 2. The total residential building permits, the target is 30, and we've got 22. The spend on the incremental water system and the incremental sewer system spends, those are both going to change significantly in the near future, because we have started to undertake some of those large projects. The community hub, I don't believe we're going to meet either one of these targets by the end of the year. We won't have the pool or the market space constructed. Hopefully, we'll be quite a long ways with the pool, but I don't believe it'll be finished. The Public Works building will be completed probably by the end of the summer. The village office to complete the design. The architect is currently working on the 50% package. So she does sort of 50% of the drawings, and that gets costed out and gets reviewed by council. And then, depending on what the cost is, potentially things get removed from the drawings. And then she continues on and works further. So that's 50% complete. The fire hall, we have submitted the federal funding application, and we're hoping to have some design work done this year. Under organizational excellence, we did enter into service agreements with the TNRD for building official services. We have started looking at a property tax utility charges policy that will come to council likely in September. We're going to work with the Chamber of Commerce. We haven't done this yet. This will be done by September to look at materials that need to be developed for attracting new businesses to Lytton. We have had some meetings with Lytton First Nation Council to Council, looking to continue those and hopefully enter a memorandum of understanding. The other bands in the area, Scapa-Siska, Nikomin, and Kanaka Bar, as the capacity at those bands allows, we are going to work to set up council to council meetings in each of those communities as well, and work towards having a memorandum of understanding in place with them as well. The project advisory committee, we have hired our engagement manager. That person is hired and on board. We did shift slightly from originally we planned to hire a cultural advisor, but we were unsuccessful in finding somebody kind of locally that could fill that role. So we've shifted a little bit to an engagement manager, a young woman from Lillooet Nation. She's going to assist us with the project advisory committee work in that regard. The official community plan is on the agenda for tonight, the project plan for that. So we will see that a little later. We have hired the economic development position that's part of Carolyn Lamont's role. And we are well along with implementing the year one recommendations of the destination development plan. We have been working on the regional emergency management organization, and we're trying to formalize some agreements there to put that in place. And of course, the mayor in particular has been involved in some discussions with Interior Health about the services in Lytton, but that continues to be top of mind and taking advantage any chance we can to advocate for that. And those are my comments.
Okay, that's great. So we do have a motion to receive this report for information. Councillor Lightfoot, seconder. Councillor Toss, are there any questions or comments regarding this?
I'm just wondering if sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just curious if Ms. Lamont's position has sort of shifted to Director of Development. Do we have an economic development strategy, like besides the pocket park? Like, is there somebody working on that?
Well, when Carolyn was hired as Director of Development, we kind of put all development under there. So planning and development as well as economic development was kind of all put under that one role. In terms of an economic development strategy, the one that we have was completed, I think, in 2023 by O'Leary and Associates. That's the latest one that we have. So
didn't we have the $30,000? That was the tourism strategy, was it?
Yeah.
The destination development plan.
That was a different plan. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? I'd just like to say, when under organizational excellence and the service agreements with the TNRD, when I read enter into a service agreement with TNRD for building official services, I got all excited, and then I thought, no, that's not what it means. It means building official services. So that would be the building inspector, permitting, that kind of thing, correct?
Yeah, they don't do the building inspections, but they do all of the building permits.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, we'll now move on then to the third item, 7.1.3 capital projects update.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This is our monthly update on the 6 capital projects that are underway. So there has been some good activity in the last month. And for the community hub, we had our first on-site meeting with the architects on June the 30th. They came to Lytton to get the lay of the land and kind of just start to kind of absorb the community a little bit. And so that was great to have them able to do that. We have received some information from the pool consultant, and we're working with the pool committee chair on the unofficial pool committee chair on summarizing that input for the project advisory committee, and we'll be bringing that back to them. We proposed the RCS construction contract change, which we just spoke about. Next on the list for the community hub will be to complete the communication and engagement plan. So our engagement manager is working on that. Do an RFP for the design build of the pool. Determine the program requirements for the community hub, the whole project, and working with community groups to determine what those are. And then work with the Catholic Church on access to the property that's immediately adjacent to the property that we purchased where the old Totem Motel was. So with the fire hall, we've submitted all the application requirements to GICB, and we're just continuing with our kind of local consultation on that project. On 380 Main Street, that's the village office replacement. So as I just said, the architect is working on the 50% drawings, but we've also requested that she prepare some renderings so we can get an idea what the building what it's going to look like, what she's drawing on her architectural drawings. So we are anticipating receiving those within a couple of weeks. We have finished the geotechnical testing on that property, and I believe the report is going to come to us tomorrow for that. So the next steps would be to move forward with an RFP for a construction company. The Public Works building is well underway. Like I said, it's anticipated it'll be ready by the end of the summer for staff to start using that location, which will be great to have the team up in the village and have all of their equipment secure in one location. And then with the water upgrades, we have the water repairs at the east of Main are underway. Those are going to be a total of about 6 weeks. I think we're about a week or two in, so another 4 weeks of disruptions in that area. It's pretty significant replacements happening there. We have received the water report from the consultant, and the team is going through the projects and working on a list to bring forward to council and then on to UBCM in terms of the next priorities for the water system. And we're looking at doing a request for qualifications for contractors. We've already done one for consultants, and now we're looking to do one for contractors. And that would essentially mean that we would have 3 or 4 contractors on the list who we have pre-qualified, and then we wouldn't have to go to RFP for every single job. We could choose between the ones that we've already qualified. And then the final thing on the water system is we're gathering the information to assess the feasibility of well number 1, which is not currently in use. And for the sewer upgrades, the River Road project is complete. We've engaged one of our pre-qualified consultants, True Consulting, to complete the design of the sewer main replacements from along First Street and down the laneway from 3rd Street. That is hopefully going to be delivered to us shortly, and then we will be looking for a contractor to move on that job pretty quickly as well. And we have completed the terms of reference for a consultant to conduct a capacity study of the wastewater treatment plant. So the next steps will be to hire that consultant and to complete some upgrades to the SCADA system. And that's it for the capital projects.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Balls in the air.
Very, very well explained. Again, I can't say enough how I appreciate the layout of these updates. So, all right, Councillor.
And it's always encouraging to see forward motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this outlines it quite well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? Carried.
Who moved in second?
We don't have a motion. I'd like to move the support for information toss.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to ask Diane to put her other hat on. And we have some CFO reports here. The first one is the monthly reporting contribution agreement that we see every month, come every month. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, we see this one every month, and just to let you know, the expense reimbursement being sought in June from the province of BC is $362,024.76. So, as you know, these are our costs under our recovery grant, our $17.6 million recovery grant, and we submit a request for reimbursement every month to them.
thank you. And so let's we have a two-part motion because we do have to submit this. Who would like to put that forward?
I will move.
Thank you, Councillor McCann, and a seconder, Councillor Lightfoot. Are there any questions or comments regarding this?
I have one, sorry.
Yeah, Councillor.
It's it just flashed as I was thinking about this. It would be kind of cool at the end of the year to have a little graph that shows what you started with and where you're at now, and just kind of watch that money just diminish. Just watch it all disappear. Just a little picture. Oh, we had all this, and now this is what's left. I just want a little graphic program here that says, oh, here's what you got left.
Councillor Toss.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Are there any privacy concerns around breaking down the total recovery support in staffing? Like, is it possible to get the breakdown on that? I feel like our one job as council is financial oversight, and this one particular line item gets me every time. I just don't know where this money's going. I don't see anybody in town. I know there's people out there working, and I know we have, but I'm wondering if there's some efficiencies, and I think that it's our job to look for those. And I know it's grant funding, but it is our tax dollars. And I think it behooves us to be responsible with it. And I appreciate that there's probably a good reason for all of these staff salaries, but from where I'm sitting, it's a pretty big number, and I don't know where it's going. So I'm wondering if we can maybe in an email or in another report, just get more of a handle on where that 100,000 is going every month.
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate to disclose people's names and salaries in the meeting.
Public forum, yeah, sure.
And discuss it. I think that would be inappropriate.
Sure. Would we be able to get that information in a closed meeting?
We can talk about that for sure.
Thank you.
I would argue that, sorry, just because we're not seeing them in town doesn't mean we don't have people working for us and working hard.
Yes, I would wager that we get a lot more bang for our buck if we had bodies in town, based on the recent sewer replacement that happened by Hobo Hollow and the lack of leadership that was there at that time. Thank you.
Okay, we have again the two-part motion. We just need to vote. This time I'm backwards. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, so now we have an item regarding the June 30th financial results, I guess. And Diane.
And I've asked Lisa to bring up a PowerPoint for me, just so that we can have some of the numbers in front of us to
Awesome, good.
to look at. Thanks, Lisa. Can you go on to the next slide, please? So the report, the June 30th results report outlines kind of three kind of key financial areas. So the first one is the operating results. So that's our actual budget that we put together to determine our tax rate every year. We call that the operating budget. So that's the first category, that's the first section. The next is the recovery spending. So I just kind of summarize the main recovery grants and what's been spent and where we're at with those. And then the final section is just for council's information, a listing of all of our deferred revenue accounts and all of our reserves. So we'll talk a little bit further about that when we get to that. With respect to the operating results, we're pretty much on track for this so far for this year. We're halfway through the year. There's a number of things that we know we haven't received yet. So for example, if you look at the grant revenue, the provincial grant, we haven't received our small communities grant yet. So those types of things are budgeted, but they haven't come in at this time. We have no concern about that, though. We completely expect that will come in. The municipal property taxes shows a small negative variance. That's primarily because the charges that we make for I'm just losing my train. The PILT. I can't think of what the P stands for.
Bill.
I'm just like I'm totally lost. Yeah, payment in lieu of taxes. Thank you. Sorry, I was thinking property in lieu. No, payment in lieu of taxes. So that's for organizations like the RCMP. Those don't all happen at the same time as the property taxes do. So we expect that this variance will work its way out through the end of the year. Sale of services, we're doing quite well. At June 30th, we only are $50,000 under budget on that. The investment income continues to track ahead, and the other income, we haven't recognized any of it yet. The other income represents insurance proceeds that were received in prior years, but are going to be spent this year. So when we spend them, we'll record a revenue number to match it. So that will come through later in the year. I know we're getting into accounting now. It's not that I won't go into too much detail. Can you get the next slide, please? Thanks. We'll move right along. With the expenses, again, at this point in the year, you would kind of expect your variances to be about 50% of your total expense budget because we're halfway through the year, and a lot of expenses are incurred, kind of fairly evenly throughout the year. I'll just mention a couple of the things that is not the case for. One of the things we're seeing is that our costs for IT and software licenses just continue to grow. With all of the cloud-based software, the SharePoint, all that stuff, that the annual fees are high compared to what we're used to. And we probably have more to spend when we start talking about security and looking at some of those aspects of the system. That'll be for another conversation. The protective services is way under budget right now, and that's because the fire department, you may remember a number of months ago now, we approved that they could go ahead and replace all of the equipment that we had insurance proceeds and donations for. So they haven't done that yet. So those things have been ordered, but they haven't been invoiced yet. So they're not recorded here. So we will see those items come in. The development services budget, we continue to carry a $25,000 amount there for grant writing. We've essentially asked Carolyn to do that too. So that's kind of been taken over by her role for the time being. With respect to the parks number is a little bit over budget because we made a deposit on the timber frame structure that is currently being installed at Pocket Park. That will eventually get moved over into our assets when the structure is finished. So we won't have a negative variance at the end of the year. The water and sewer both. We've found that the team has been making a much more concerted effort to allocate their time properly. So we're getting a better reflection of where they're spending their time, and so we're not seeing as large of swings in the wage budgets that we were seeing last year. You may or may not remember, and a number of reports I had to do a separate kind of explanation about the wages and where we were at. So we think we've got that under control, which is great. it's showing, it shows up much better throughout the year that way. And then the amortization, that's an accounting thing that's done at the end of the year. And the special projects, that's the money that we had budgeted this year for the OCP, which has not started yet. So it's still unspent at this time. On to the next one. So that's the operating results. Then when we get into the recovery spending, we kind of have four main recovery grants. So the first one is 6.26 million that we received from municipal affairs back in, I think it was late 2022, early 2023. It was 2022. And that money was provided to the Village of Lytton to cover a whole gamut of things. It was at that time, the EMCR funding had not been approved yet. And we were using this for consultants and for council's online meetings and booking meeting rooms and travel and all kinds of different things. And it's largely been spent, as you can see. We have so far in 2025, we've only spent $18,000, but our totals of that has been spent is 4.8. So we report this to municipal affairs every 6 months. We report where we're at. They give us the okay to keep going. And they've been really supportive of anything we've asked. So you may remember we bought the fire truck from this grant. And that isn't typically something that would be funded from this grant, but they allowed us to do that because it was a need that we didn't have another funding source for. On to the next one, Lise. So the 23.4 million from EMCR, this is the grant that was largely spent in 2022 and 2023. We still have a few small amounts. We've been reconciling some archaeology invoices, and that's what you see on the screen in front of you for 2025, some old invoices that we got cleared up. This grant from EMCR was for 23.4 million, but in addition to that, we have 1.6 million that was paid to the village through the insurance trust. You may remember that all the insurance companies contributed the debris removal payouts for the policies, and that all came to the village. So that was 1.6 million. So if you add that to the 23.4 million, it covers the total that we've spent of 24.9. So we haven't overspent on this grant. We deliberately, we knew that we had that debris removal money to add into it. So we're just about finished with this one. We won't be spending much more out of this grant. The next one is the 3.4 million from EMCR back in 2023, I believe it is. After the 23.4 million that we just talked about was when it was coming to an end, EMCR approved a further 21 million for Lytton for the remaining of the recovery and rebuilding works. They gave us a $3.4 million advance on that so that we could continue to pay for consultants and contract employees. And you may remember there was a specific report requested on some geotechnical information. So that came out of here. This grant is now finished. So we were given 3.4 million. We've spent 1.8. The difference has now just transferred forward to the 17.6 million that we talk about all the time, that we just approved the report for. So the final one, Lisa, here we go, 17. Oh, it's 17.5. I typoed. I'm sorry. The 17.6. So this is the kind of the final amount from EMCR that we report on every month. We just had these same numbers in the previous report. So in total, if you just look a couple lines below the bottom, you'll see it says subtotal. This was the initial grant from them. We've added the additional amount from the 3.4 that I just mentioned that we didn't spend. So this grant was 17,495. It's now 19,017. But it doesn't change what we're using it for or how we report to EMCR on this every month. And that is the end. Oh, sorry, that's the end of the recovery spending. Then we still have the deferred amounts. So you may remember from our previous conversations, the deferred revenue, these are amounts that have been received by the village, but we either still have an obligation that's attached to them, or they relate to something that's going to happen in the future. So under the provincial conditional grants, the majority of this is the money that was received from the Ministry of Forests at the end of 2021 that is earmarked for economic development initiatives and is still moving forward. And we still are working with the staff at Ministry of Forests for this on this grant and to make sure that we're staying within the guidelines and all that kind of thing. We have the Interior Community Health Fund. Everyone's familiar with this one. We get an annual payment out of that fund, which we then council has the ability to allocate to, I think it's primarily health-related initiatives. We had a special fund set up last year with a very generous anonymous donation that came in. So that's sitting as deferred revenue. We received $5,000 from our previous MLA's office to put towards maintenance of the Fraser Canyon sign project. So that was being managed by our previous MLA, her office. And so when her office closed, they transferred that money over to us and asked us to keep the sign looking nice. And the remaining items are all recovery-related grants that we've received the cash and we still need to spend. So the recovery operating grants, that's the money that was received from municipal affairs in 2 tranches of 2.1 million. That's what's not spent in those grants. We have the sewer grant, which we received 4.4 million from I think that was from municipal affairs as well. We have the ICIP, the Investing in Community Infrastructure Program grant, which is a third from the federal government, a third from the provincial government, and a third from the municipal government. So municipal affairs gave us the 1/3 for us to contribute to that program. That EMCR grant amount shows up here as well as the remaining amount in the municipal affairs 6.26 grant. And the final thing is the reserve account balances. So then just, very quickly, we have the surpluses. These are generated over years and years and years of deficits and surpluses added together. We have a general one of 2.9 million, a water surplus of 135, and we've got a sewer deficit of 82. Then we have a water utility reserve of 55 and a sewer utility reserve of 10. Those are really kind of meant for capital projects in the future. We have a capital reserve of 631,000, the gas tax reserve of 971,000, the recovery operating reserve of 578. Last year, we created some new reserves. We created a donation reserve so that we could move the donations that had been received after the fire but hadn't been spent yet over into a separate account so that we could keep track. So there's 353,000 remaining there. Insurance proceeds, same thing. We received a bunch of insurance proceeds, and so that amount is sitting at 4.4 million. And then we have a climate action reserve, which is a provincial program that contributes money to municipalities to be spent on climate action initiatives. And you're going to see probably in the next meeting or two a request to spend some of that money. And then we have our Growing Communities Reserve for 619,000. This is the one that we approved a small contribution to the Pocket Park improvements about a month ago. So our total reserves and surpluses is about 10 million. And that's it. That's it this time for sure.
All right.
Sip of water.
Questions? Does anyone have any comments or questions? A lot of information there.
Holy,
Councillor McCann.
When there was the one slide where you said there's this much money and then we added this much money into it to make this much money.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's any way you could say at the title of that slide, the amount that got added to make it, just so it's clearer that that's where that total came from, because you said it when you explained it, but
Sure.
It doesn't show it on that slide. So that would be helpful if somebody like me, if I went back again. Because
Sure.
I'm going to remember there was some money that came from somewhere that got added here, and that
Sure.
would be helpful.
Yeah, we can update that for the presentation that gets posted online as well, in case anyone else is looking at it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Comment that it looks like we're in good financial shape, actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask actually. So when you're going through this, where would you rate us as in what financial shape are we? at this point in time?
I think at this point in time, we are in good financial shape, but we've discussed many times, we are benefiting right now from,
Yeah.
the generous contributions from the provincial government and helping us through the recovery process and allowing us to have the resources that we need, to undertake a number of different things that wouldn't be possible without that. So we still haven't, we've had some conversations and we will continue about our financial picture in the future.
Councillor Lightfoot, did you have a question?
I just had a comment. It's really nice to be in black. So much in black.
Yeah.
With Councillor McCann's question, I do believe that, I'm not sure what page this is on, but it does say the 17 million from the MCR, and then it has additional site readiness from the 3.4. So
Yeah.
it's I think it does.
Can't really show
It's
It's on page 7 at the bottom.
Is it page 7?
Yeah, or sorry, page 5 at the bottom.
Anyway,
7.
excellent.
Yeah.
I hope that every year is a similar report or better.
Ooh, no pressure.
Okay, so thank you. We do need a motion to accept the report. So we've tossed for information. Right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Second.
Second Lightfoot, all those in favor, and carried. Good. All right, now we move on to 7.3, Director of Development, Carolyn here tonight, regarding the OCP update work program.
After CAO's presentation, I feel like a huge slacker. So I'm just gonna try and let you know what I've been working on and hopefully where the village will go coming forward and maybe address some of the other comments that you guys had on an aside. I did like Councillor Lightfoot where you said forward motion, and this is what this is talking about. I know you've talked a lot about recovery and rebuilding, whatever, and now I want you to put on your sort of looking to the future, 5, 10, 15 years ahead. So hopefully that's a little inspiring to do that. The official community plan, I'll just go through the presentation, which really, what is it? And I think a lot of people have a lot of different perspectives. A lot of people think it's sort of a document that sits on the shelf and sort of dusty and it has a great map. So, but what it really is it's a community plan and it's something that the community develops. And what it does is it has a vision. Currently, you have a focus right now, focus areas, which are great, but a vision is really strong, objectives of how to achieve that vision, and then policy to guide those decisions specific to planning and land use. So it considers growth areas, sustainability initiatives, hazard and environmental protection, so example, steep slopes, wildfire danger, housing, which is the gambit from, perhaps senior assisted all the way to single family homes, transportation, parks, and servicing direction. So it's sort of a catch-all document when it considers the use of land and development. My personal preference through my career has been that maps can, as I had a professor that says maps can really, is 1,000 words, that quote, right, is worth 1,000 words because it can. And everybody understands, for the most part, colored map. So that's where we really want to go. And another, a good question, and Councillor Toss, you talked a little bit about an economic development strategy. And as a matter of fact, before I started working on this, I tried. And I don't know where Lytton wants to go as far as economic development. Certainly, traditionally, the tourism draw has been strong. But since really the start of the 2000s, no major employer, where do you want to go? So for me, I struggled because I felt, wow, you really need employers here. You need jobs. You need reasons to come, but you need your community to tell you what that is. Do you want a coal plant? I kind of doubt it. Do you, so those are things, that's extreme, but where do you want to go? And certainly throughout this province, there's a lot of different approaches and there's some good people. So that's one of the main reasons. The other is the plan was adopted in 1998 and actually it's pretty good. Like there's some really good things. So I didn't think we needed to throw it out. I think we can build on it. There's some very significant amendments to the Local Government Act, a lot in the past year, but also others related to housing needs, which although you're exempt from now, you will have to probably be assigned in the years to come. And development permit areas, which I know you struggled a little bit with as well going forward. And those really kind of take development to a next design or land use or function requirement, whether it be energy or not. And those are up to your community, whether you want to go there. So the new consultation is also very significant in an official community plan update. And I'll talk to about why that sort of stands alone as we go forward. Obviously, the 2021 fire and October atmospheric river impacts are significant to just your land base and how they affected your community. And that needs to be recognized in your OCP. Changing or lack of changing village demographics is also another one compared to the rest of the province. And then as the CEO mentioned, you do have the funding to do it, which is no different than most communities throughout BC. So you're not super special that way, but the funding is secured. So this was my graphic attempt to sort of talk about how it goes. And so nothing's hierarchical. There's just a whole lot of information that the community needs to go through and understand and give feedback on, whether that's so community engagement, vision, objectives, what's important to you. The consultation with NALACAPMA is very important. Technical reporting and investigation. First of all, you guys have done an amazing amount of reports after the last few years. We need to capture that information and use that information. And then the statutory requirements. So all these come in and they end up in the new OCP. It might seem like a lot, but OCPs don't need to be big. They just need to have impact and they need to be actionable. So this is, I also went back and listened to when you chose not to pursue the RFP. And I think one of the biggest ones was you felt that it was being done by outside. I will be managing the project, but it also will have a huge, it's going to be done by the community. I am your scribe. Your staff is your scribe. Early and often consultation, using the current OCP, responsive, accountable. So Melissa, communication advisor, has already been, she's very excited about getting this going as well. And to me, engagement is one thing, but accountability to what you've heard is another one. Incorporate new and existing information, which I talked about, update the vision, objective, policies, and actions. It's going to be an actionable plan, which I think through the CAO, you've really seen that it's really important to action things and then monitor that action. In my opinion, OCPs don't need to be replaced. They just need to be continually dynamic and updated. There's statutory consultation and bylaw adoption requirements through the Local Government Act, and it needs to be flexible and user friendly. I did throw out one to council before. There's one in Canal Flats. It's not, don't get too deep into the policies, but when you read it, you feel like you can understand it. It's not a bunch of policy that don't get. Timeline, which I'm quite confident with in 12 months. It means a lot of consultation, and it really does depend on the very first item is consultation with really NALACAPMA. I'll get this sooner or later. In another 6 months, I'll have it dialed. So, so you can see that that's sort of standing alone. And if you go to the next slide, Lisa, this is fundamental. So nothing about us without us, which is fairly common term used through OCP consultations through the province, if not the country. So our intent is over the next month and a bit is to talk to them about our process and to get meaningful input on it, responding to calls to action from the TRC and what we call STRIPA, There are things that really do relate to how the village does land use and business. I talked about the Local Government Act, listen and incorporate histories and stories of the area pre-contact. And certainly you have a huge history here. And this consultation will continue as they choose to want to be consulted, whether it's individual bands, it's as a group. And so again, community driven, inclusive, diverse representation, language, identify concerns, solution driven, user friendly. Lots of buzzwords there, but feel free in 4 months to call me on that if you don't see it. So maybe in the next slide, Lisa. Oh, we're on it. Okay, so now we get to the Village of Lytton per se. So we've gone there. We're feeling generally okay. If we are, if not, we might have to jig a bit, and it will affect the schedule a bit. But right now, as I mentioned, we're working on the communications and engagement plan. The idea is to, most projects like this have a project identity, OCP update, so it's recognizable, could have a tagline. And then we're working through all key community groups, partners, and interests as we go forward to make sure to see how they want to. And we did talk a little bit about that we would go to them if that's more convenient. I don't know, but obviously you guys do it, but after a long day at work, it's hard to pull yourself and go to a community meeting. But if you're already going to your sports club meeting anyways, and you're having that conversation, it's a little easier, and it's often amongst common themes or interests. So that's the project launch, and as well community meetings to provide children's activities, food, and beverages. So everyone, they're very, very informal. So technical investigations, and we talked a little bit about this already, that through the recovery, you've done a lot of reports. And when you look at the budget that Diane pulled up, a lot of this is in the technical reports. And then a lot of it would, like the writing and all that is in-house. And we just feel that the community would like a bit more certainty as they move forward on land use, on geotech, environmentally sensitive and riparian areas, archaeological importance and process, economic development potential, wildfire impacts and threats, and parks, open spaces, trails, mapping. And we would be going forward with LiDAR mapping, which really makes it a lot easier moving forward to do land use decisions. We also have a lot of existing information, utilities, the fact that you're going to have new services is actually for a town of this age is huge. It's not going to be mystery, even though I'm sure it's a little mystery right now, but land ownership and status. You have a lot of senior government held land and First Nations held land. So it's important to understand everybody's priorities. Community facilities and plans moving forward, emergency management, tourism destination plan, and gravel deposits is a little requirement through the act. I just have to throw it. And so we'll be looking to say engagement's going to be a challenge is probably an understatement, because a lot of your property owners may not be here or may not live here. There's something else to think about too, is what about the residents of one day or businesses that one day might choose Lytton? And how do you want to engage them? So potential. Yeah. Or where do you want to go with that? So next one. This is sort of the developing policy input. So try to do the outreach where you're really giving people an opportunity to think and dream and wish. I use the SWOT, but I actually prefer SOAR, which is SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SOAR is strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. So, but I put them both up there because you get the gist of that. People really want to, what are the results? What do you want housing to look like when you drive down the street? And so, and then open house and breakout groups. I'm a big fan of speed dating, which I don't know if you've done that, where you rotate. So one table might be transportation and you give it all you got, and then you go next and do housing. And I find that it makes community meetings not as a little dull. It keeps people thinking and moving forward. Again, reporting is really important. Opportunities for community socialization is important. Public available results, and sending if you give us your email, that we're going to fill you in on everything. And it is really helpful to have a communications person in the village to help, because this is a huge job. Next one, Lisa. And then this is where we'll start doing the writing based on community comments, maps, doing all the policies. A good example is economic development. Okay, we want to focus on tourism, and how do you want to focus on tourism, and what would be the policy? So you're going to go pursue gold panning, which I just learned about today. So how do you do that, and what's the action? Is it safe access to the river? Is it a signage program and wayfinding, or is it So they constantly build on each other. I think, next slide. That's sort of, and then this is where you guys get involved. And I'll just, typically engagement processes is councillor are observers. Because even though you have a lot of information, you certainly can tell tell staff, but it's really about the community. And I'm feeling that might be a bit nice for you guys for a while, because you've done so much as a council. So that's really important. But this is where you get it, the public hearing. As you know, you'll listen based on the community's feedback. There'll probably be some key issues. You might send it back. You might even want bylaws redrafted or something, but that's the statutory requirement through the Local Government Act. And then the next one is probably when I'll be happiest, is when you actually roll it out and you move forward with things like the economic development strategy and action plan. You start changing your procedures. A lot of the little things that you guys have had to deal with become easier once you have an OCP that says, wow, the community says we should behave this way. Right. Yeah. So and it's also a legacy to move forward. So so that's it. Comments or questions?
So we have let's put the motion forward to endorse the OCP work program as provided in attachment A. And I have to say, I read attachment A about 3 different times. There's so much information. So you've captured it up there, but let's put the motion forward. Councillor Lightfoot and the seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor McCann. Now, are there any comments or questions?
That was essentially my comment as well, my honor.
Oh, okay.
I was so impressed.
Mhm.
I was so excited because I've been whining around about an OCP since I first got elected. But very excited. But the most exciting thing for me was to see how well laid out it was, and to see the processes that I expected to be there and that I wanted to be there, and to realize that, yes, they will be there. And the hardest thing for me will not to be there. That's going to be really hard.
You have to be there.
I want to watch and listen to everybody get engaged in the process, and understand that that's our role, is to watch and listen. But then the final stuff, but I think it's just, I'm really looking forward to the process, and I think a number of people maybe are as well. And I really hope it goes as well as it looks, to tell you the truth.
I'd like to say, watch, listen, and encourage people to get involved.
Yeah.
Councillor Lightfoot.
Your presentation I found even more engaging than the document on our agenda. And I'm wondering if that's something that we'll put on the website, so anyone that just wants to learn about the process, because it's really easy to read, and because it's in point form, and you've gone through the whole gamut, the whole process. I think it would be clarifying for a lot of people on what we're trying to attain.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The one thing I will say is today I had a half a day in village offices. It probably needs to be more than that, as I move forward more and more here, so that people can feel really comfortable coming in to talk to me about things that they might not in a community meeting. And
Mhm.
difficult when you're not living here because you're not running into people in the grocery store or things like that. So that probably is something that you'll see more of. Yeah.
Councillor Toss.
I'd like to second what the others have said in terms of it being an excellent report and the direction that's going in. Thank you so much. I have a couple questions. One thing you said at the outset was there's legislated housing needs that we've been exempt from. What are those?
So to do the housing needs report, so that's, you probably heard a little bit maybe at UBCM, and so every municipality, there's the naughty list. I don't know if you've heard about
Yeah.
that, like certain Oak Bay is on the, yeah. Yeah, they're not meeting their targets. So we don't have targets, but as we move forward, there is something we should look at as far as diversity of housing. You're pretty much a single family town right now, and to achieve some of your vision, will that change? And I'm pretty sure the province is going to want you to be building housing, particularly given the sludge that we saw before this. So, housing is really important. You're playing a part in the province.
So like low income or subsidized, like that type of, like a variety of.
Yeah, variety, diversity of housing. Yep.
The other question I had, thank you, was you mentioned also like the getting employers into the community. And I wonder about like we have employers and we have employees, but we have nowhere for them to live. So that's the housing conundrum. So I think even before we get to employers, we have to find somewhere for them to put the people they're employing, because currently we have teachers unable to return next year because they don't have housing. And really, I feel that the school is where the success of this community is going to lie. We have a new community member that does not want to send his kids to the school because there's not enough diversity in classes. And I think we really have to encourage that demographic, that youth demographic, to get some diversity in our community. Last comment is, will this OCP, I didn't see any mention of it, but in our meeting with LFN yesterday, it was brought up, branding activity. Is that going to be part of this? So somebody suggested a change. I'm not saying we need to do this, but somebody had mentioned like Canada's hotspot is perhaps a little bit outdated or inappropriate.
Yeah,
That's something we're gonna.
I don't think this process would do that.
Okay.
I think this process could feed into a process like that, because it's a great opportunity for the community to come together. And I'm sure it will come up when we talk about the vision.
When we talk
About the vision.
the
Yeah.
vision. Okay.
Yeah. So right now you don't really have, and I certainly will provide visions of other communities. There was sort of a trend to do visions maybe about 10 years ago. And then when I was working on one with one community, I said, okay, why we've picked the community for each of these visions. So it's really important to make it yours. And like, not just, a small town that friendly people. Okay, well,
Yeah.
there's things that you really need to come to the core of who you are and what you want to be. So
So the branding will come out of the OC.
I would assume, that it's up to council, but it would be some good information you would get from really
to
good.
inform that process.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's up to you guys.
I appreciate that.
Are there any other comments or questions? I'm really excited about this. Looking forward to it.
Such big expectations.
No pressure, just, it is exciting. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you for that. Okay, now we move right on to Ocker Park roof color.
This is what I've been mostly working on. No, everyone's probably seen the progress going on at Pocket Park, and it's going to even get better in the next few weeks. Andy Moz is doing a great job, but apparently no one wants to pick the roof color, let alone me, not me. And I even did a question of a village office staff, and they actually told me that fading from sun is actually something to keep in mind too, which was something I had never thought of, but certainly living in Lytton, you would know that. So typically, when you don't have development permit guidelines like that Lytton doesn't have, you rely on the designer or the architect primarily. So I did go to Abe Kingston, who built the building, and it was his concept. So he recommended either in the dark, the charcoal gray, or the Regent gray. But there's also other ones. Andy suggested red. I didn't include it. But everyone's different. You know, the green is a very Parks Canada sort of approach. But given the color in your report, I did try to show you the color of the structure so you could see what it would look like. So this is, so staff's recommendation is the Regent Gray for a couple of reasons. One, the fading that I didn't think of when I wrote the report, but the other is that it's cooler. It doesn't absorb the heat, which is, yeah.
So we do have a recommended motion here. Would somebody like to put that forward or put another motion forward? Whatever.
Recommended motion.
Councillor McCann.
Yeah, sure.
Seconder, Toss. All right, conversation. Any conversation.
Once I have nothing to say.
I just want it to be a committee decision.
Yeah.
Not one person that decided.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
That was easy. Carried. Good job. Oh, sorry.
No, that's good.
Opposed.
No, you're not.
Not voting.
I have to, I mean, it's affirmative.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, but I'm like,
Anyways, the motion is carried. All right.
Can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that's another exciting thing happening.
And the exciting thing also is community partners that have come on with Home Hardware in Ashcroft and Little.
Timber Martin level.
Timber Market.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So that's really nice.
They're supporting the project now? Oh, wonderful.
It's wonderful, yeah. Good. Okay, so we move on to bylaws, and we have two bylaws in front of us for adoption. We've seen these come before us for other readings, and the first one, 8.1.1, regarding water regulations and connections. Can I have somebody put a motion forward to adopt?
So yes, Madam, just that we did have an amendment to that one, just because I've made a few amendments to that, just they're more clerical clarification. So I do have another motion, if that's okay, I'll bring forward.
Sure.
So the council adopt the Village of Lytton Water Regulations and Connections Amendment Bylaw, number 769, as amended to remove the words should be from section 5.1, thereby clarifying the application process and not altering the intent of the bylaw. It was just, we don't have to rescind third reading if it's very minor. So, and it doesn't have the intent of the bylaw.
So the two words should be are just going to be.
Yeah, they're going to be removed. So if that's
Okay,
right.
thank you. So we have an amended motion.
Motion, yes.
so
That's
that's
going
right.
forward. Thank you. A seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Carried. And now we move on to the sewer regulation and connections, and that one is good to go.
Yes.
And who would like to put that one forward?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCann, and a seconder. Us. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. All right. Now we have one piece of correspondence that came in from CN Railway. And if I remember correctly, a year ago or so, I think it was a little later than this, but the same request came through. And we did make a proclamation regarding this. And then we actually put a bylaw forward that we would not be doing proclamations except for the railway. Okay. So am I correct with that?
That's
correct. Yeah. So we do have a recommended motion to proclaim September 15th to 21st as Rail Safety Week.
So moved, Toss.
Seconder. Lightfoot, are there any comments regarding this? Councillor Lightfoot.
I believe last year we also had it put on our website during that period of time.
Yeah.
I assume we'll do the same this year.
All those in favor? Carried. Perfect. Okay. Verbal reports. All right, our last council meeting was July the 8th. So the following day, July 9th, I attended the monthly mayors and chairs EMCR webinar. They do this every month where they talk about provincial trends and concerns. Everything from the river forecast center, snowpack, river levels, excuse me, drought, that sort of thing, as well as from BC Wildfire. And actually at that webinar, BC Wildfire shared the current situation. So you have to realize it's 2 weeks ago. Yeah. At that time, the Eisenman Creek fire was the only fire of note in the province, and it was being helped. They did talk about sending about 400 firefighters from BC to Saskatchewan and those big fires, right? So there's going to be another webinar next week. So I guess I'll report on that then. But yeah, July 10th and 11th, I was pleased to introduce Hanny Jones, the village's new engagement manager that CAO Monmarquette spoke of earlier. The engagement manager for the Hub project, to many people and communities here in Lytton. We traveled from Lytton First Nation up to Kanaka Bar, up to Nikaman, and stopped in places all in between. She was well received by everyone she met, and I would say we look forward to her working with us as the Hub project progresses, and she's pretty excited about the role as well. At the end of last week, I traveled down to Richmond to attend a UBCM board meeting. Excuse me. There, my term as small communities representative is nearing its 1 year end, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed being on that board. UBCM, of course, represents member municipalities from all over BC and is a strong advocate to the government on behalf of communities. For me, the opportunities were not only to learn more deeply how municipal government works, but also the challenges and opportunities that so many face, many other communities face, and so many similarities to ours. And as well, the networking, both with government officials and other municipal leaders. I have made the decision to put my name forward for another year. The election, of course, is at the UBCM convention in Victoria in September, and we'll see if I get to serve another term. And just to end my report, I want to thank LFN Chief and Council for another productive council-to-council meeting yesterday. And I was glad to hear that the community carried on here at the hall for Monday coffee without any of us. That is the councilor talks.
Keep following you. Revere.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't have much to report. I'd like to thank Mayor O'Connor and staff and everyone for all the work they're doing. And yeah, I also enjoyed yesterday's LFN Council to Council. I thought it was very productive. And look forward to some EOC training. And I believe that's open to the bigger community tomorrow here in the Parish Hall from 9 to 4.
Yeah.
And it provides you with, I believe, even a certificate at the end. We have a trainer, I think, Mr. Oike, coming from Lillooet to teach financial management of an EOC center, so an emergency operations center. And some of us have attended a few of these sessions, and I believe they're quite worthwhile. So if there's somebody listening that would like to attend, please show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McCann.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. It's been a little quieter, but still managed to keep busy. I joined the mayor introducing Hanny around, particularly on the west side. We had a fun day. On the 14th, I went to coffee with the mayor. On the 16th, I went up to Pasauco Lake and attended culture camp for a while, which is so nice. Oh my God, I love going to culture camp. Then the 17th, I went to Kamloops to attend the TNRD directors meeting on behalf of Mayor O'Connor. And the highlight of that meeting, I think for most people there, was the TNRD endorsed the search and rescue request for funding there's a tripartite agreement they're working on so that they can get a new center. And they showed a picture of where they're working out of. Okay, it looks worse than the post office. like worse. And they're working, rescuing people and storing their stuff. So they clearly need something much better. So hopefully over there in Rayleigh, they'll get what they need. Then on the 18th, nope, the 18th was a Friday. The 19th is Saturday, I attended a New Pathways to Gold Board of Directors meeting. And then on the 21st, yesterday, was happy to go to LFN and work with everyone else. It was, as everyone has said, it was a really productive meeting. I'll just make a little note here that this past week, I was very happy to see the pergola finished in Chief Spentlam Park. And of course, everyone is asking me, is the roof going to get covered? And I truly don't know. I can't remember. I don't think it is. I think that's finished, but I will ask and find out, because so many things about this project have changed as it's gone. Like every day there's something that has to be changed and done differently for whatever reason. And so I spoke with the landscape architect, and she said the final touches should be completed by the end of the month. I'm guessing they probably won't be, but it would be really cool if that would happen. Basically, she said there's still some benches to put in place, a couple of irrigation things to finish up, especially making this poor tree out here get water, and some cleanup things that the contractor is still obliged to do. So as far as she's concerned, that's the finishing touches. And the interpretive panels, I think, are waiting for someone to finish writing their story. So there's like different organizations have contributed the wording for those panels. And so some of them are done and some of them are still waiting for people to be able to have the time to finish it and get it edited appropriately for that use. And so my final comment is thank you so much to our staff for your ongoing efforts to support the works in both Pocket and Spentlam Park, because I know there's nothing way more fun than saying, oh, we're doing it differently now. Okay. All right, we'll just shift and make this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lytton.
Not a lot to report. I enjoyed yesterday's meeting with Lytton First Nation. I think it was quite productive.
Thank you. All right, so that brings us to the end of our meeting. We're going to be closed. We have things to discuss, particularly related to 91K. We have a recommended motion here. Who would like to put that forward? Councillor Lightfoot and the seconder, Councillor McCann. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. And I'll turn it back over to Corporate Officer Sasha.
Thank you, Mayor Connor. So that concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting for July 22nd, 2025. We ask that the public and staff please remove yourself from the meeting as we go into close. Thank you for attending and have a wonderful night. And I invite council to take a short recess while I reset the meeting to close.